Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor at Madison365 with your daily update for Thursday, September 3rd. It is not a bad day for coronavirus, but not a great day either. Um, Yesterday, our percentage of positive tests went down to 6.5, which wasn't bad. There was a lower number of tests, about 8,700 tests yesterday, of which 6.5% came back positive. Today, tests were up a little bit. It was just under 10,000 tests today, which we want to be at 12,000. So, it's closer. 727 of them were positive, which makes it was about 7.9%, basically 8% positive today. We have now 77,856 cases altogether since March 11th or whenever it was we had our first case. 7,328 of those are considered active, which is same as yesterday, a little bit lower than the weekend. So that's good. I like to see the active cases going down. We did have 4 more deaths today. That brings our total to 1,146. We have 4 different counties. We had 1 death in each of 4 different counties. Jefferson, Kenosha, Outagamie, and Walworth counties all had a fatality today. Well, all had a fatality reported today, right? Let's look at trends real quick. 7-day average of new cases is now 674, which is a little bit on the low side because testing has been low. And there was one day when there was only like 200 new cases because of a data or an outage in the data reporting system. So that's a little bit, the 674 is a little bit on the low side. The more important number is the percentage of positive tests. Over the past week, that has been 8.0%. Over the past 14 days is 8.4. So that's not great either. Again, I'll say it again. If you're public health folks will tell you if you're below 10%, you've basically mitigating the spread of the disease. You're basically kind of trying to control it. If you really want to say that you're suppressing it and you're actually on the downward side of the curve, you have to be below 3%, and you have to stay there for a while. We were below 3% for basically the whole month of June. And these daily updates were kind of boring because the news was fine. I guess it was closer to 4% or so, but still it was good in June. And it has been bad since the beginning of July. It's been in the 8 range since then, which is not great. I'll talk a little bit about a few local spots. What I will say is that when we have lower numbers of tests, it's those rural areas where the percentage gets high, because the rural areas are just testing fewer people, and as a result, the people they are testing are those who are more likely to be sick. Right? So, a few spots to note today: Milwaukee County has 117 new cases, but basically 6% of tests coming back positive, which is not great, but better than the state average. Calumet County still is high, 12 cases and about 13% positive tests. Chippewa County is high, only 10 cases in Chippewa County, but that's a very rural county, and 14.7% of tests are positive there. Kenosha County, 22 new cases and basically 38% of their tests came back positive today. La Crosse County has 31 new cases, 22.5% positive. Manitowoc County has 10 cases, 21.7% positive, which is really high. Washington County, 19 cases, 43% positive tests. All the other, there's a long list of counties that have more than 10 new cases. Most of them are the positive test rate is lower and is more in line with the state. For example, Brown County has 42 new cases, but 5.3% positive test, which is not bad. Dane County, 75 cases here, 6.75% positive test, which is not bad, but that's really high for Dane County. Dane County, even when Dane County has a lot of cases, it's usually in the 1.5% to 2% range. So to be 6.7% today in Dane County is not great. Fond du Lac County, 31 cases, 10% positive. Go look at the story. It's the. I'll drop a link in the comments here. You can see the full list of of all the local counties and stuff. It's there. Amy, that's a great question. I will get to that question in just a moment. Let me just finish up some numbers here. Hospitalizations are down, which is great. 287 currently hospitalized. That's a number that we like to see. It's 8 fewer than yesterday, 57 fewer than a week ago. Again, we track that number not because we're concerned that the hospital system is going to be overrun. We're not close to that. We have plenty of availability in every region of the state in both hospital beds and ICU beds. We track that just to keep tabs on how severe the illness is and how many severe active cases we have. Right. So when that's going down, that means we have fewer people who are really, really sick, which is good. Right. Currently 91 people in the ICU statewide, which is 9 fewer than yesterday, which is great. To your question, Amy, do you think it's rising because of college students coming back and being tested? I don't think it doesn't seem, based on the limited data we have on college students, I don't see that impacting the percentage very much. The percentage of positive tests has been high since July 4th. And it hasn't shot up significantly in the past week as college students have come back. At the University of Wisconsin, the positive test rate among those that they're testing is actually on the low side. It's actually like 3.1%. Let me. That was yesterday's. Let me see if I can get today's for you real quick. What testing at the University of Wisconsin is doing, however, is dramatically increasing just the raw number of cases that are identified in that downtown area. We put up a new Dane County coronavirus map this morning, and it's been such a dramatic increase in those downtown areas that that in the past every week we put up this Dane County map where you can click on your neighborhood and see how many cases you have now versus how many cases you had a month ago. So you can see, like, over the past month, how has it increased? We actually did it this week. We added a 2-week number also, so you can see how many cases there were 4 weeks ago, how many cases there were 2 weeks ago, and how many cases were there yesterday. Because a lot of the growth has happened just in the past week because of that University of Wisconsin testing. So there are several neighborhoods right downtown, right around campus, where there have been big increases just in the past 2 weeks. Let me look here at the so far. This is the 7-day percent positive for students at University of Wisconsin is only 1.87%. So that is actually much better than the state average of 7.9% today, or the state 7-day average of 8.0%. So the UW students are not contributing at all to that increase in positive test rate statewide. They are contributing to the raw number of cases, however. We have so far 386 cases identified at UW, of which 365 are students and 21 are employees. Of those, 207 have been identified from on-campus testing, where they're actually testing people as part of their like return to school and stuff. And then another 179 of those have been tested off campus at like the Alliant Energy Center, for example. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, it is really interesting, and it bodes well for the University of Wisconsin. Honestly, you saw like at University of North Carolina, you had like 1,000 cases right away. At where was it? That's at Alabama. Had like 500 new cases right away. So for University of Wisconsin, have 386 cases, over the past couple of weeks. So like as students just started to trickle back in, and just in the past, obviously classes started yesterday or Tuesday maybe. So they are testing, and they're isolating people that have been tested positive. So that makes one hopeful that those 386 tests won't continue to increase. However, you can't isolate every college kid at the University of Wisconsin. You just can't. They're going to go out. They're going to, go to parties and things. The Vice Chancellor, Lori Reeser, actually put out a letter yesterday admonishing students to behave themselves. She didn't say anything specific, but she said, we know there are students who are not following the rules. We know there are a lot of students who are following the rules and behave themselves and keeping each other safe and healthy. But there are some who are not. And if you are a student and you're not following the guidelines and not following the rules, you can be suspended. And if you're a student organization who is not following the guidelines and rules, which includes like, if you're a fraternity, don't have fraternity parties in your house. And there are some student organizations who are not following the guidelines, and those who are not are going to be subject to suspension and termination. So, University of Wisconsin seems to be pretty serious about it. What we don't have right now, at least in our statewide data, are breakdowns of like other campuses, like University of Wisconsin-Platteville or Eau Claire or Green Bay in Brown County, where there's been a lot of coronavirus, or UW-Milwaukee or Marquette. So we'll keep an eye on those, and we'll inquire as those campuses ramp up. Now, I will say also that Dane County, most of the new cases are between the ages of 10 and 29. It's a big range. There's middle school, there's high school, there's college freshmen, and there's young professionals. But it seems reasonable that most of those are going to be like in the 18 to 22 range. So there are actually, when we talk about raw numbers, where an extra 10 or 20 cases makes a big difference in a day in a small place like Dane County, that 10 or 20 new cases just out of UW, out of a UW population of 40,000 students, isn't that big a deal, but does actually make a pretty big impact on the Dane County daily numbers. So I would imagine that the UW does actually impact that quite a bit. That's basically what I have for you for coronavirus. If you have any other questions, please drop them there into the comments. A couple other things I will mention. The Wisconsin Leadership Summit is coming up October 5th through 9th. It's entirely online this year. It's our third annual event that we do. It's a professional development event for people of color and for white folks like myself to sit back and listen and learn about the professional lives and the community lives of people of color. I would encourage you to attend that. It's going to be online. It's $79 for the whole week. It's 5 sessions a day. You pick and choose which ones you want to go to. You don't have to sit there and look at the screen all day every day if you don't want to. And this year we are, for the second time in a row, we are going to do the Wisconsin Leadership Community Choice Awards. Last year we had a whole big award program at Capitol Theater, downtown Madison. Obviously we're not going to do that this year. We're still trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do an awards program during the conference. But we want you to nominate the people in your life, in your network, who are leaders of communities of color. So we have a woman of excellence, man of excellence, high school student, college student of the year, a business executive of the year, small business and large business, a nonprofit of the year, and the social justice leader of the year. So I'm going to drop a link in the comments here, and there's you click each of those category links, you'll get to a form where you can nominate people. You can nominate yourself if you want to, I guess. Why not? And then in a couple weeks, we'll have some finalists and we'll have community voting. These are not awards that are chosen by us or any sort of academy or committee. These are voted on by the community, nominated by the community, and voted on by the community. So please do nominate people you know. One other thing, a couple of Madison specific things I'll mention. I have a story on the site this morning that there was an unfortunate incident at a city council meeting. It was an online meeting. It went 9 hours, where they passed a bunch of measures to establish an independent monitor of the police and a civilian oversight board of the police, which has been it's taken them 5 years. There was a citizen committee that came up with these recommendations over the course of the past 5 years. I don't know what else there was to debate for 9 hours after 5 years of work, but that's the Madison Common Council. They talk a lot. They go well into the wee hours of the morning, most meetings, and I just can't imagine why anybody thinks that's good government. It's beyond me. But anyway, so about 3 a.m, they were moving from one agenda item to the next, and they opened for public comment. And the mayor, Satya Rose Conway, introduced Shadira Kilfy Flores, who is a well-known community activist. She's not an agitator or anything by any means, but she does speak her mind, and people in Madison know her, and they know that she will speak her mind, right? And that makes some people uncomfortable. A woman of color speaking her mind makes some people uncomfortable. So there was a very clear remark that was heard. You can hear it in the recording. I didn't put it on the site because it is tremendously vulgar. But basically, she was called a misogynistic slur. You can guess which one, probably. And it's pretty clear who it was, but it can't be proven. There was an alder. The last alder to speak before that, about a minute before that, was Paul Skidmore, who is a big proponent of the police and has been a consistent vote against police reform measures, and who has tangled with Shadira before, and has so it's been assumed by everyone that it was him. He said it wasn't. He said it sounds like me, but it wasn't me. So we'll leave it at that. But anyway, he has an opponent now in the spring, and I was able to talk to Shadira last night and get her perspective. Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Leslie, for that context. She was a member of the. She's just really, really involved in all these issues, which is great. And she works on a lot of this stuff, and that's why some alders who are on the other side of these issues don't like her, and that's why they assumed it was. That's why everybody kind of assumes that it was Paul Skidmore. But to avoid a defamation suit, I have to remain in the camp that it is alleged that it was Paul Skidmore, who he represents the far west side of Madison. He's run unopposed the last 2 times. He's served on the city council for 15 years, and now he has an opponent for the spring. So we'll see how that goes. One other thing that I haven't been able to write up yet because I was waiting on a little bit additional detail, but I will write up probably after we're done here, is there was I don't know what else to call it other than a noose found hanging in Wingra Park here in Madison yesterday. I talked to the guy who found it. His name is Trey McNair. He tried really hard not to think it was a noose because, you kind of don't want to think that. And you want to be sure that it is what you think it is before you start saying things like that. Which is unfortunate that black people kind of have to do that sometimes. It's like give everybody the benefit of the doubt, even though nobody gives them the benefit of the doubt, right? Uh, but looking at pictures of it, like he did call police. He didn't want to call police right away because he didn't want to like be there when police came and have them question him or whatever. So he went home and called the police from there. Several media members, and then he posted on Facebook. So of course, lots of media are interested now. So the several reporters apparently reached out to Joel Despain, who's the police spokesman, Madison Police Department spokesperson. He emailed us this afternoon and said that there was no malicious intent in this rope. That was this very thick rope that was tied around a couple of branches of a tree and tied into a loop with the little things around it. It wasn't like the 13 things around it like in but it was. I mean, I don't know what the heck else you would call it. But they said there was no evidence that it was malicious, or whatever, and a park ranger removed it last night. So that part of it is resolved at least. But Trey is still pretty upset. He's been messaging me today, some more with just more thoughts about it, and so I'll get that written up tonight probably, and I'll post the pictures even though they're not. I mean, I don't want to re-traumatize anybody, but I feel it's also important to show that this is a news. Like this is not people just like tying branches together for some reason. Or even if it is, even if there was no malicious intent, like it had that effect. More than one person saw it and took pictures of it and said, this is a noose. So there's impact versus intent, right? So even if it was just kids horsing around, I don't know what, but even if it was nothing, even if it was not intended to look like a noose, the fact that it looked like one, it was left there, it had that impact. So it's worth talking about, right? So watch for that later this evening or possibly tomorrow morning, depending on how the rest of my night goes. But that's all I have for you today. I'll be back tomorrow. You can catch up on all this stuff in the morning on the It's Only 10 Minutes podcast. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to that. We also have a new Finding the Warmth of Our Sun episode yesterday. So that's on our YouTube and on Facebook and wherever you get your podcast, just search for that. It was a pretty tight little musing yesterday on the weight of blackness, the heaviness of being black in this particular age and era. Really insightful words from Matthew Brungen on the show yesterday. So that's all I have. Thank you much for your attention. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and evening, and we will see you again tomorrow.